paranormal. I've always believed there's something out there. I'm not religious, but I've always believed there could be a poltergeist, a wandering spirit, or just anything that could be another being. I do believe there is something out there with as high or higher intelligence than the human being. I'm not sure why. But since I was 7, I've experienced little things here and there that could be dubbed as the paranormal. I'm going to tell you about 5 different stories. 4 of them are my own, and the other is my friend Megan's, because she has no way to get a video out to you. And she has no way to tell the world about what she's seen. These stories are 100% real. This is Megan's story, and she told me about it. She's only experienced it once, but she was alone in her house, and she started hearing singing in her house. And it sounded like an old Irish lullaby, but she was scared to death, and she was alone, which means that whatever it was might have come after her. This story is one of my own. I was with one of my friends, Zach, and we were sitting next to each other at this party. We were facing the kitchen, and out of nowhere, I looked up, and there was something out there. It looked like a man in a trench coat with a top hat on, and he started moving across the kitchen. I nudged Zach, and I was like, what is this? And I was like, Zach, look out there and stuff. And we both looked out there, and we were 100% sure it wasn't anyone at the party, because the only light that was coming out was from the TV that was across the room, and everyone else was accounted for. We closed our eyes and we imagined a sort of force field, and we just kept saying to ourselves, go away, you don't need to bug us, go away, you don't need to disturb us, we don't want your presence here. And it left. But it was one of the scariest times in my life when I realized that there might be ghosts. The room I'm sitting in is one of the most haunted rooms I've ever been in. This is my bedroom. I've experienced some of the scariest and most chilling things here. From noises coming from my attic, such as scratching, breathing, to drafts underneath my doors. I've experienced some really bad stuff here. I've heard screams outside my window, and I've heard people walk on the roof when I know there's no one up there. I'm not one to venture, but I know. I can feel it. One of the most horrible times was about that scream in my window. It's happened twice. And there's a balcony out there. And I was sitting in here. Both times I was reading it was normally a fantasy book. And the 2 times it happened, I was sitting in here, peaceful, and my cat freaked out. He started wanting to get up. He got up and started walking around. I didn't know what he was doing. I was like, are you okay, baby? Are you okay? Because that's his name, baby. And then all of a sudden I heard a scream, and chills ran down my spine, and every single bone in my body tensed up, and I couldn't breathe for about 10 seconds because I was waiting for whatever it was to come in through my window. The second time it happened, I freaked out even more because both of my cats that were in the room at the time freaked out, and my brother was at the door, but he didn't hear it. It was the middle of summer. It was extremely warm inside my house, and I had too much energy. My mom was asleep, and I didn't want to disturb her, so I went outside with my MP3 player and I was dancing around my backyard, because that's what I do when I get really bored. So I was out there, I was all alone, except for my dog, and all of a sudden I saw some odd, eerie light in the corner of the yard, and there was fog that night, which was weird for summer. I mean, with that kind of heat, you wouldn't expect that, but there was like a haze over everything, and I looked over in the corner, and in between my fences there was a corner, and in the corner was a weird light. It was white with like the fog was like seemed to be coming from that spot because you could see everything moving away from it. And I was looking at it, and it didn't make any sense to me why it was there. But I wasn't scared, I was just watching it. It was interesting. This story is something my mom told me about more than I know. I do remember something about it, but I don't remember most of the details. My mom said that when I was little, I was playing with my Barbies in my room alone. She walked in and the room was extremely cold. I mean, to the point where she could have said it was easily 40 degrees in the room. And so she comes in and she says, "Hey, hun, do you want a blanket or a sweater, or do you want to put on some socks?" And I said, "No, Mom, I'm talking to my new friend," who she said had a name, but she never remembered it. It was something like Shuri or Shayla or Shelby or something like that. It started with an SH, which is part of the reason I came up with Shaylob, because I really enjoyed that ghost story. And so I said, "No, I was talking to her." And she said, "But there's no one in the room." And I said, "Yes, there is. Can't you see her? Look at her pretty red hair. And look at her gorgeous green eyes." I didn't know the word gorgeous, but I said, "Look at her pretty green eyes." And I explained her later, and she was interesting because I still remember talking to someone that night, but I didn't know who it was. And my mom said that she left the room, and when she came back, she asked, "Where'd your friend go?" And I said she went out the window, and the window was wide open.